Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com, along with the man they call Meathead. Special guest, Dave Hero, in the studio this evening. And I am Frank Cosentino. We apologize for the delay. Hope you enjoyed the World Baseball Classic. Hey, it is what it is.
Hey, no, it was. It was a hot ninth. So,
and we appreciate everyone for their patience. Later on this program, we'll go through what happened on our thoughts on WrestleMania coming up, on Raw, a little TNA news, everything. We'll take your phone calls.
And legitimate TNA news as well, T and A.
Right. But we got a big show coming up here locally in Milwaukee, coming up on this Saturday.
Saturday night, March 21st, the most controversial GLCW show of all time. We've been almost cease and desisted because of the biggest tag team match I've ever put together.
Yep.
Scott Hall and Kevin Nash against BG James and Cute Kip, formerly known as the New Age Outlaws, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn.
And here to talk about that matchup and everything else going on in the world is Kevin Nash. Kevin, thanks for joining the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, yo. See, I'm good, ain't I?
That's pretty good. Unfortunately, we're going to have Scott Hall on, but because
we got to hold it. See, Scott's like one of those Watchmen characters. You got to get him quick.
And because of World Baseball Classic, Scott did have other priorities, and unfortunately we couldn't get him on.
I think he actually had the Venezuela-Italy game TiVo. I think he was in the seventh inning of that.
Well, we do have Kevin Nash. Kevin, thanks again for taking the time. You got it's going to be interesting. It's going to be you and Scott Hall back in the squared circle. Your thoughts? The first time Dave Hero said, you know what, let's get this thing together.
I mean, to me, I just, remember a long time ago, Eric Bischoff, he equated walking into a pro wrestling arena, because he watched it as a kid, as when you walk in a movie theater and you smell popcorn. Like when you, as an adult, you later on, you walk into a movie theater and you smell popcorn, and you still have that nostalgic kind of thing that happens when the aroma hits your nose. And to me, it's just like, going through the curtain with Scott Hall has been such a huge part of my life. And just the idea of doing it, again, is just, like to say, as Red Sovine would say, it'll bring a tear to a glass eye.
Kevin, this show, when it was first announced back at Blizzard Brawl in December, it got a lot of fan reaction. A lot of people were excited about it. And, of course, last week I get the cease and desist saying we can't mention the N bleeping O versus D bleeping X. And, you were one of the main guys that, started NWO, you, Scott, and Hulkster. What's it like knowing that, someone like Vince McMahon owns that trademark and, you really can't use it?
It just shows how smart of a businessman he is. I mean, actually, in retrospect, the least Scott and I should have done was when we redid our deal for the 938th time at Turner. We should at least grab an Outsiders as a trademark when we robbed them from, I think, Clipper Jones' rookie salary. But, I mean, hey, Vince is a smart guy. Vince has got people. The thing that I like about it is that you take an independent show and people say, oh, it's an independent show. But Dave brings in good guys. Dave has always brought in great guys. This is, to me, the last show that I did. I mean, the house was great. The crowd was great. I mean, so to me, it's a good experience for myself. I look forward to it. I mean, I get to see my buddy Dave and get to see my buddy Scott, and BG was at TV today running his mouth. Kip was running his mouth, so it should be interesting. I got a bad elbow, but I had a doctor make me a cast today, and I made him make the cast on the inside of my arm. Most people half cast your arm at your elbow. Well, I made him put the cast on the inside of my arm. I don't think there's rules in independent leagues that you can't have a cast on your arm and clothesline somebody.
Now, we'll talk to the commissioner.
I was going to say, and Cowboy Bob wore a cast for years.
Yeah, and I don't think, and I actually got a waiver from Cowboy Bob to steal his gimmick.
I was going to say, yeah, that's also a cease and desist from Cowboy Bob.
Yeah, well, if he gives it to me, I'm going to ignore it.
Kevin Nash joins us on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com, the Pro Wrestling Report. Again, it's Kevin Nash and Scott Hall taking on Kip, BG James, New Age Outfits. It's going to be an exciting evening in Milwaukee Saturday, March 21st. You just mentioned your elbow thing. Anything else? Everything else is it's all cylinders for you there, Kevin?
I mean, the elbow's a problem, but I mean, I had to go back in for a circumcision. I think that was like 230 stitches. So, I mean, that's always a little bit of a setback. I mean, but that's just more of a hindrance. But
and those stitches weren't all stacked on top of each other, right?
No, I usually get a one inch spread on those.
Okay. By the way, little dragon here does have his finger on the dump button, so we're good to go.
You can't say circumcision?
Oh, no, that's still good. You're still making it. You're still clean.
Hey,
I've been doing this a long time. I'm like I do with my income taxes. I go right up to the line, but I don't go over. I will not be audited.
Kev, I was talking to Scott earlier today, and he said, that when you guys are all finished up with Road Dogg and Billy or BG and Cute Kip, that he says that you guys should set your sights on Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
It really would be kind of the match. I mean, if you really want to make WrestleMania special,
And WrestleMania needs help this year, too.
I really think those guys should job for us. That's just my opinion.
We can make that happen, right, Dave?
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
At the rate I'm going, I'll just call Vince and say, it's the guy you sent the cease and desist to. Can we?
Yeah, we're just wondering if you could job for a couple of guys. You know what? We won't even do it at WrestleMania. Just let Triple H and Shawn come to Milwaukee. We'll do it up there one of our shows.
That would be great. That would be awesome. So, Kev, last night the big TNA pay-per-view. You had Kurt Angle and Sting. You're kind of stuck in the middle there. What do you see, and what are your thoughts as to how things are with Kurt and Sting right now?
I mean, I think that if I had to be really realistic about it, I mean, Kurt's out of control and has been since day one. Mm-hmm. But like I've said, it's just like if you have the Tasmanian Devil and he's on your side, you pretty much want to keep him on your side. And Sting's been a friend of mine and a colleague and an opponent for 20 plus years. I mean, he is what he is. He's Sting, and I wish they could get through it because it's kind of bogged us down to kind of our conquering mission that we wanted to do. It's like any infighting, but. I mean, like I said, as long as that belt staying, in the family, then I don't think it really matters. It's kind of like on The Sopranos when they were fighting, if Tony was going to be the Don or who was going to be the Don, and it's kind of that kind of situation. Kurt and I don't know if Sting wants to be the Don, but maybe in a subliminal way, he's kind of been in the right. He's kind of pulled us. He's pulled Book, Scotty, and myself kind of towards him. So I don't know. Maybe Sting's the smartest guy in the business. Maybe he's the one that's going to take control of this thing.
That's possible too. And I've always found it kind of odd. I mean, not that I'm against it, but I've always found it kind of odd that really the head of the main event Mafia was the guy that didn't have the belt, and then you have the guy having the belt kind of sitting in the back,
right.
kind of sitting in the weeds.
Well, I also to me, I'm not real clear on where Foley sits in all this because he'll come out and confront 4 or 5 of us with this kind of grin on his face, and I don't know if he's in on it with us. Nobody's smarting me up yet. I'm like, it's like, is this the 6th guy? Because he's definitely been a world champion.
Good point.
So I don't know. I mean, I know the prerequisite is you got to be a world champion to be in, and ECW doesn't count.
Kevin Nash is joining us on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Kevin, I want to get your thoughts. The unfortunate loss of Andrew Martin over the weekend. What when you heard the news, what was on your mind?
I mean, he was a little brother to me. You know, a lot of it, when I had my hair cut real short and we stood side by side, a lot of people thought I was his older brother. And you know, we spent a lot of time together on the road, especially my last run in New York when I was, you know, pretty much deemed the devil by, you know, the office. But Andrew, you know, was able to see through it and see that I was a pretty decent guy. He was a close friend. He was somebody that I spoke to often. I think maybe the only guy that I would probably speak to more often to Andrew would have been Steve and Sean. Mm-hmm. But Scott's been hard to get hold. You know, Scott's been hard to get hold of lately. But you know, Austin and Michaels, and then probably Tess would be the next guy. So it's a situation where, you know, at 33 years old, man, it was. I would say that this is the second biggest shocker behind Crush, behind Brian, because I just didn't see Brian coming. And you know, Andrew had some problems. I mean, Andrew was making meetings, and Andrew had a sponsor, and Andrew was doing the right things. Andrew was, and I just, you know, he had a slip, and you know, it's like a Lynn Bias slip.
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, he had that one slip and that one. And you know, my son, I rarely have any of the boys around my kid. And last year, I picked up Andrew at the Marriott, and Andrew went to WrestleMania with my son and my son's best friend, and we spent the whole day together. And I think, you know, and I'm very biased, but I got a really, really smart, very cool 12-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't put anybody over. And when we left that night and we dropped Andrew off after we ate and stuff, he said, Dad, Drew's a really cool dude.
Oh,
and, you know, when he died, I was downstairs. You know, my kids I don't think my kids ever seen me, you know, shed a tear. And I was downstairs, and he walked downstairs and went upstairs and asked my wife, like, what's wrong with Dad? And he said, well, Andrew died. He said, Andrew? And she said, Tess. And my son was like he was devastated. So, I mean, and my kids spent a day with him. So, you know, there's always people that are going to say bad things about these guys, but he was a good dude. I mean, he was just straight. I mean, he was a sarcastic guy, and he had that, you know, he had a lot of me in him. You know, I mean, there's just people that don't know me sometimes get the wrong impression of me, but when you get to know me, you know that I got a good heart and I'm a good person, and he was that guy, and you know, he had so much left off of the business. You know, and he had an elderly mom and dad that he's going to leave that's going to have a hard time accepting this. And it's just another tragedy. It's just like, I was talking to Austin the other day, and I said, no, I equate this business to Christopher Walken when De Niro walks in, like, and it's the deer hunter, and Walken's got the red bandana on his head, and you know, he's sitting there and he watches him put the gun to his head, and finally, when the gun goes off, you see that split second and the cinematography where they show Walken's eyes like, oh, crap, there was a bullet in this gun. And I think sometimes, you know, we forget that, you know, we do the things that we do to our bodies, and sometimes, you know, sooner or later, man, that gun's going to go off. You know, I shouldn't be here. There's a lot of guys that shouldn't be here. There's a lot of guys, by the grace of God, survived that you know, those crazy 300 a day years, you know, but I'll miss him. I mean, and I think about him. I mean, I'll think about him like I do, you know, Henning and Rude and Brian and Davey Boy and Yoko and Owen, and you know, the list goes on. But if I miss anybody close to me, I apologize. But you know, it's just. You know, I'm looking at a picture of a softball game we did in Chicago against the Chicago Firefighters back in '93, the only two guys alive, and there's a picture of like 12 of us. And it's just, you look at it and you just go, well, Bam Bam, this Bammer's gone, this Yoke's gone, Bryce, it's just like, you look at this picture and it's just like, unless you were on the USS Arizona, you didn't lose as many friends as we have.
Right.
It's just unbelievable. And I watched the thing I got on YouTube, and I watched an interview where Andrew said that it was done like 17 months earlier. I watched,
saw that.
Right, and he said, hey, I went to 8 funerals, a guy 33 years old, and and then it's just, he's added to the list. The thing that I guess the thing that really bothers me is people say it's the business. It's the business that we're in. And I was talking to somebody at the WWE office that probably, if I mentioned them, would give them heat because we're still friends and they're higher up in the office. And I said, it's not the drugs that kill us. It's the fact that we're nobodies, and Vince makes us somebodies. And we finally get the chance. We go into an arena, and we have the ability to empower ourselves and basically change the emotion of 20 or 25 or it's a mania, 75,000 people. And when we do what we do, we say at this point right here, the people will do this. At this point right here, we'll do this, and the people will do this. It's very empowering, and it's hard to walk out of there at 12:30. And lay in your bed and go to bed. Sometimes especially my generation, took shortcuts to try to go to sleep. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing is it's not the drugs that kill us. It's the fact that the biggest drug, which is that ability to go out there and hear. So what are you going to do? You're going to make Vince not push people and get them over, and not make the wrestling fans so rabid? What really is a cure? Because that's what it is. It's what kills the rock guys. How many times you've been to a concert and the crowd is incredible, and you read in Rolling Stone that the Stones play an hour and 45 minutes in Boston, and here you are in Detroit, and it's 3 hours and 15 minutes in, and the people are on fire, and they're not going to leave because it's just as big a rush for them to control that crowd the way they do. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like, so, we always say, hey, we're rock stars that take bumps, and we are. We just don't play instruments. We just play, we play with our minds and our bodies. So, I don't know. People are going to always blame the business, and I just think it's so bogus. I just think it's so absolutely bogus, because I don't think guys that break into this business are like, I'm going to be a nuclear engineer. Maybe I'll be a CPA. You know what? I think I'm going to be a high-flyer wrestler. I just don't think that that's like an equation that goes into it. I think that what it is guys, you pretty much are the bad boy in high school. You pretty much, that's kind of you're an alpha male. You're very A personality. That's the kind of guy that gets in this business, and we got short fuses. We're highly aggressive, a naturally high testosterone level. Like I said, it's alpha males, and they're thrown in the Shark Tank. It's just
definitely
is what it is.
Things then puts life in perspective.
It does, and you know what? I get so tired of people blaming Vince McMahon or Dixie Carter or Jeff Jarrett or whoever's. I've never had a promoter in my life hand me a pill, hand me a drink, tell me to take a steroid, insinuate that I should do that, insinuate that I should. Well, if you can't go tomorrow, maybe you should take a Vicodin. I've never had an agent tell me that. Now, have I had one of the boys? Absolutely. But I've never had anybody in the office, we're our own worst enemies because, hey, man, we got Montreal tomorrow at the full house.
Right.
Take a bike, you can get through it.
Right.
That's us talking to each other. Well, you know what? I don't see this young generation doing that. I see guys coming in at 11:45 at night in Orlando after we got done taping at 7:45. I'm like, where were you guys at, the strip joint? No, man, laser tag.
Playing their their PSPs or something like that, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, but really, the guys the other night, they went and played laser tag, like 6 guys. We went and played laser tag, it's open all night. I'm like, wow.
Well, Kevin, we appreciate your insight on that. Again, you'll be joining Scott Hall. It's going to be a great evening this Saturday, March 21st, at the Waukesha County Expo Center. Great Lakes Championship Wrestling. It's going to be a fun night, but I'm not going to end this interview until I ask you this question, because it's very important. I know you have your bracket in front of you somewhere, and you've got Tennessee going as far as possible. So where do you?
I got Tennessee getting drowned by Pitt in the second round. I'm a realist. I got money on this stuff. I'm sorry. Pitt's getting by the 16th seed. Tennessee's going to have to battle against Oklahoma State. They're going to get trounced by that monster inside from Pitt.
Well,
Tennessee's got nobody that can cover that man.
Now, for the people listening, you've got insight from someone that actually played the game and knows the Tennessee Volunteers. So,
but you know what? If anybody can put together a pressing defense and change the tempo of the game, it's Bill Pearl. I mean, yeah. I will not. I mean, to me, that man can flat out coach.
Yeah, we miss him up here, too.
I never thought they'd go that deep in the SEC tournament. I knew they'd get a bit if they went 2. I didn't think they'd go. But you know what kills me is that University of Tennessee basketball program has not won the SEC tournament since '79. I mean, that's 30 years. Well, wait a minute. I played on that team. Son of a gun! I was getting that plug in somehow.
Kevin, we appreciate your time this evening. We will see you in a few days in Milwaukee. Thanks again. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, Kevin Nash, the Pro Wrestling Report, 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Top of the hour coming up. We'll talk about tonight's Raw and everything else. We'll take your phone calls. You're listening to the Pro Wrestling Report, 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your hosts, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com, along with the man they call Meathead. Dave Heroes in the house. Dragons Behind the Glass producing the program. I'm Frank Cosentino, and unfortunately, Damian is... Viva! It's not unfortunate. He's either drunk or...
Wait, hold on.
Drunk.
Should I hit the button? Should I hit the button again? Viva! That's actually a hot button that we use here.
He will be. Damian will be joining us next week, and to talk about WrestleMania, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. Before we get into what happened on Raw tonight and WrestleMania, you can join the program, 414-276-3776. You're outside Milwaukee and all over the world at 800-990-3776. It was a great interview with Kevin Nash.
Again.
And you can...
And Kev would have kept going, too.
He would have kept going, especially...
We need a co-host again, the film for Damien. I wonder if Big Kev wants to come on up to the studio.
I love his realism with Tennessee. That was good stuff. But it was unfortunate stuff having to talk about Chester, Andrew Martin. And just your thoughts when you guys heard the news over the weekend. It was Dave.
It was shocking for me. I mean, you go to bed on Friday night and you wake up and there's a whole bunch of text messages and emails and stuff, and it's like, Chester's dead, R.I.P. Chester. And it's like, come on, go online. Sure enough, and for me, I've known Drew for since he broke in when he was one of the bodyguards for Motley Crue, and I met him. We did autograph signings together. We'd hang out, whatever. Super great guy. I mean, a lot of people, like Kev said, are going to say bad things about him. But if you knew him and he knew you, he'd give you the shirt off his back. And at 33 years old, it's like, it's heartbreaking. It's crushing. Right. And I spoke to Drew, over the past year quite a few times. We were working on getting him some more indie bookings. I spoke to him last, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and he was all excited because he was all set to go back to school. He had a job lined up to be a personal trainer and a strength and conditioning coach with an NFL football team. And he just wanted a few more bookings to have a few extra money, just to put it aside because he's going to school full time. He'll be done wrestling, and he was looking forward to it. He was really excited, and you could tell in his voice that he was ready to move on and get past
next stage of the life.
Yeah,
is what it would
exactly.
have been.
Yeah. And for him at 33, he's young enough where if he wanted to, he could always go back to wrestling.
Absolutely.
But it's just another one gone way too soon, and it's just heartbreaking. And you wonder, like, when is it going to end? And you see there's other guys out there, that burn it harder at both ends than Andrew does and whatever else. And you're like, wow, how can they still be around and he's gone? But yeah, it was a real tough weekend.
Yeah, I got to kind of add on to that too, and never met him before, but it was a guy that I actually kind of like watching, kind of like doing his thing. The only WWE gimmick that I didn't like was when him and Scott Steiner were kind of battling over Stacy Keibler. I thought that was really, really.
Who wouldn't battle over Stacy Keibler?
But the whole angle was just weak, and he was with his GGW, Girls Gone Wild. Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah.
It was weak. I mean, it was fun to watch Test. He was on TV, and even if I don't like a particular performer, if I don't buy into his character or don't like him personally because I had a run in with him, I always am happy to see a guy get on TV. I mean, how often, honestly, do we see Santino wrestle? But the guy's on TV every week, which means he's working, and he's working hard. So I'm happy to see a guy get on TV, whatever you got to do to get on TV. That's really what it means. So.
One of the things Kevin talked about earlier was the YouTube video about Test. And when I watched it, it's like, wow, he was ready to move on and whatever else.
Absolutely.
And I scrolled down on there and I read some of the comments that some of the people said, a steroid abuser, just totally burying him. And it's like a person died. No matter what it is, you still, just don't, throw dirt on him. What a lot of people don't realize, he was 33 years old. He started 10 years ago. Imagine being 23 years old, being shoved into the limelight in a big angle where
and
you're
again,
getting
the angle
a push
that you,
to the moon.
The angle that you mentioned, a lot of our fans don't even remember. Motley Crue played at a taping in Madison, Wisconsin. Motley Crue was going to be, just promoted as a band, looked there live on Raw, and Test got brought in as one of the quote-unquote bodyguards for Motley Crue, and that's how he got brought into the business.
Right. And what a lot of people don't know is Test only had 4 matches under his belt when he was signed by Vince. And it was kind of done as a favor for Bret Hart.
Right.
So here's this young kid, 23 years old, extremely wet behind the ears. You're put on the highest-rated cable TV show in the world, and then you're thrown into an angle with Vince McMahon as, part of the corporation.
At a time when wrestling was at a
hot.
It was,
they
were getting 4.0 ratings consistently, not only for Raw, but at the time.
And the overruns were 5 and 6.
Yeah. So, that's a lot for a kid 23 years old to go through. And, yeah, you got to be competitive, and, of course, there's everything else that comes along with any sport or entertainment business you're in. There's always going to be temptations and whatnot.
Sure.
And, he had a great run. He made a lot of money. He saved a lot of his money. He wasn't penniless. He didn't have to work on the indie shows, but he just wanted to do it to stay in shape because he loved wrestling.
As Kev said, honestly, this business is very addictive. And I read from somebody, obviously we read, the sheets as well, and we read the internet headlines and such. And one of the former writers, his name slips my mind right now, who writes for one of the papers, one of the national papers, said that the business of wrestling itself, and remember, wrestling is a business, the business of wrestling itself is addictive. And what really hurts is the fact that once that addictive source is taken away, being out in front of 50,000 people, being out in front of 20,000 people, being out in front of 1,000 people is addictive. Doing some of the stuff that I've done, I've been, geeked just being out in front of 100 people. That's amazing. It's very powerful, very addictive, and when you get that kind of pulled away from you, you look for any kind of way to get that back, just that taste, that feeling again. So
you know a lot about a person when someone else talks about them. We heard Kevin Nash's thoughts. You've seen it on the internet, the thoughts of what Andrew Martin was like. Obviously, it's unfortunate being that young of age, but what's incredible to me is the respect that he had up until the point of his unfortunate passing. So there are many stories that you can add to this, and it's unfortunate that some people take it a certain angle right now when it just doesn't make any sense. So, it is what it is, and it's unfortunate news. And hopefully it will be a while before we, we'd rather have a certain wrestler pass away because he wrestled in the 40s and the 30s.
He died of old
I'd
age.
rather talk about another terrible pay-per-view. I'd rather sit through 5 terrible pay-per-views than talk about losing another friend.
Yeah, and
terrible.
Here we do analysis on a lot of shows, and here we do. We may talk about Gagne's words, and I can't say the word because he should have been bleeped out.
Something about Drizzlins, I think.
Yeah, he was the Drizzlins. He was the Peanutty, if you will. We'll talk about a talent, a performer being that, but we don't wish that he, leaves the planet. We wish that he just doesn't perform on TV. We said that about a certain member of the main event Mafia, who we just don't want to see on TV anymore. But we still like the guy. We still appreciate the guy. We just, we're not asking for the guy to be off our planet.
If you think about what Kevin Nash also said, looking at that picture, where it's him and Mike Rotunda that are left.
Yeah, that's...
I know, he's talking about Kurt Hennig, Bam Bigelow,
yep.
Owen Hart, Yokozuna, Rick Rude.
All the boys that they hung out with together. They were a big group that hung out,
Big Boss Man.
Sure.
Think about all the talent. Even in the NFL and Major League Baseball, you can add up all the guys over the last 3 years, that were, stars or superstars. It doesn't even come close to in the wrestling business.
Right. You want to talk about tests? You want to talk about anything in the world of professional wrestling? You can do so at 414-276-3776, 800-990-3776. Let's go to the phones and speak to Terry in Milwaukee. Terry, you're on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening, Terry.
I want to put out my condolences to the Martin family. I saw Test WrestleMania times, and it's a sad loss for the wrestling world that he's gone. And I wish his family, my condolences, and hopefully they will get over this, the loss of a loved one soon. Because, like people have said, they might be gone, but they're never forgotten. So, now to go to Raw tonight, I thought Raw was interesting tonight. Didn't like the end though. I thought the ending was a little bit bland. I expected more out of the Big Show Cena Edge build up.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of. But the rest of the show I thought was, it had its ups and downs. It's kind of like pretty much every other Raw that I've seen had its ups and downs. I do have a question for Dave Hero though. Since X-Pac or Six-Pac or whatever you want to call him is going to be have you had a chance to talk to him? Is he still wrestling in Mexico by any chance?
He's still wrestling for Conan as D-Generation Mex. Yes.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's pretty much all I got, guys.
All right.
Like I said, have a good show.
Thank you, Terry.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks,
the phone call. 414-276-3776, 800-990-3776 are the phone numbers. When we come back, we'll continue to take your phone calls, get your thoughts on Raw tonight. It was an interesting Raw.
Really?
Interestingly bad.
In Frank's opinion, I'll give mine after the break.
We'll talk about that. We're broadcasting live from the Time Warner Cable Studios in downtown Milwaukee. You're listening to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Read blogs from your favorite 540 ESPN personalities. Log on to the all-new ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. The man they call Meathead, Dave Hero.
Dave Hero is not the man they call Meathead.
Frank Cosentino.
No, I'm not the man they call Meathead.
No, you're not. Not even close, man.
No.
You're going to have to work that out, Frank.
I'll figure it out. You want to call the program?
You're just what did she call you?
No. Oh, somebody called me Superman.
Superman.
Yes.
Okay. That's also a cease and desist.
The Man of Steel.
That's also a cease and desist.
Yeah, right.
If you want to call the program, talk about what you saw on Raw this evening, your thoughts on WrestleMania, thoughts on TNA's pay-per-view last night. That got some interesting quotes from Stratosphere and all over the Internet. But right now, let's join Bill and Doug, and time for Bill and Doug Uncut a little bit later. But appreciate you guys taking the time to join us again.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Well,
Bill, go ahead. Well, I'm really not in that great of a mood, and the reason I'm not in that great of a mood is because last night around 7 p.m. I started watching the TNA Destination X pay-per-view. You know, several weeks back, Randy Orton talked about why he kicked Vince McMahon in the head because he had IED, intermittent explosive disorder. You know, I didn't think that existed. I didn't believe him. But when I started watching TNA Destination X, I started developing those same signs, and I wanted to punt my TV straight out of my window. It was the most atrocious thing that I have ever seen in my life. I would have rather given $30 to a homeless man sitting under a bridge. I would have rather have spent $30 on the fake definitive Walker 3-disc Braden Walker DVD collection. I mean, it was the most absolute horrible thing I've ever seen in my life. And so, starting with the ODB segment that was like 25 minutes long, it was absolutely horrible. They had a dance-off in the middle of the ring. I mean, I cannot believe they expected people to pay $30 for this crap. And then on top of that, they already had 8 matches booked on pay-per-view, and it's a 3-hour pay-per-view, and 8 matches is usually pushing it for them. And then they start throwing in stuff that wasn't even booked on the pay-per-view, like Sheikh Abdul-Bashir cutting a promo saying that he was being discriminated against because he wasn't on pay-per-view. That took up 10 minutes. Then you had Brutus Magnus versus Eric Young, another match that wasn't scheduled for pay-per-view that went like 10 minutes. So all the matches, even though there were some decent matches on the card, weren't pay-per-view quality because they didn't have enough time to go. Mm-hmm. You know, really, Ultimate X to me was obviously the match of the night, and my hat's off to all those guys because they always go out there and deliver and give the effort and put on a hell of a show. I really enjoyed, you know, the fireman's carry on Consequences Creed when he did the front flip on the 3 guys, and of course the Christopher Daniels jump from the pillar to the center of the X.
Come on now, that's suicide.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
They got Fallen Angel chance at the beginning of the match, but I still don't understand why they're doing suicide. Like I said, the Claim company went out, or Midway company went out of business, so there's no reason to really keep the guy around. But they were getting some suicidal chants, so maybe he'll get over and start selling T-shirts. Who knows? But overall, I wasn't that happy with the pay-per-view.
Well, what disgusts me about it is it's like, you know, TNA was all our alternative. And now if this thing goes under, which, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to go out of business, but it might get to the point where it's not watchable. I mean, it's terrible, and it's successful. So it's like, what do? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm disgusted with TNA right now. At least AJ Styles is the title holder, but I haven't been happy with AJ Styles in a long time. I mean, there hasn't been anything where, that's a match of the year candidate with AJ Styles.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then Sting, Foley, Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett. I mean, this is WCW all over again. These are the main eventers hogging the spotlight from the young guys, and it wasn't supposed to be like this. And Jeff Jarrett was trying to make it out like it wasn't going to be like this, and look what's happening.
Well, we talked about momentum that TNA had as far as ratings. Do you think this is something that, well, we'll find out, but in your opinion, do you think this is something where you had an opportunity to gain that momentum with at least a decent pay-per-view, and it didn't fulfill?
Well, and then that's the thing, and for me, Bill, it's like, okay, we will put up with all the crap that we have to put up with on Impact, but the smart mark, the fan is going to get what they deserve when you order the pay-per-view. And if the pay-per-view isn't delivering and Impact isn't delivering, then what do we have to look forward to? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and another thing, too, 3 or 4 years ago, TNA didn't matter what the card was. You just knew if you spent your money on a TNA wrestling pay-per-view that you were going to get more than what you expected. And now I don't feel like you're getting that. They're just trying to sell you a bunch of bull crap. And to me, TNA used to market to the smart mark, and I know a lot of people are like, well, there's more casual fans than smart fans. And I agree with that, but I think the smart fans are growing, obviously, with, the Internet, and the fans' knowledge is growing. So I feel like we are growing as a whole. And on top of that, I don't think that the casual fan really cares about watching the show. They'll just watch it whenever they get time. Smart fans, they will do everything. They will buy the pay-per-view. They will watch the show. They will buy the merchandise. They will buy the live event tickets. And they will get other people to watch. And I think that's what TNA underestimates, is the fact that the fans like us, we have a lot more of a voice and a lot more power than just the normal casual fan who will watch when it's good and when it's cool. But I'm telling you right now, if the casual fan watched that pay-per-view last night, they're not going to be interested in ordering another TNA pay-per-view. If anything, they're going to be embarrassed and never order a TNA pay-per-view again. The Ultimate X match was great. And like I said, you got to give credit where credit was due, but everything else was just mediocre, and it was just like a 3-hour Impact show.
So let me ask you guys this before. Unfortunately, we got to let you go because of time constraints here this evening. But
that's cool.
What if you guys were running TNA right now, knowing what just happened on the pay-per-view, what's the first thing that you would show? What would the first thing that once the camera lights went on?
The problem is it just needs to kind of have an overhaul, because I think the guys in the main event. First of all, I think you need to sell the main event Mafia in the front line in story, and you got to bring in Christopher Daniels as part of the front line. I mean, it makes sense.
It's already past due.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand where they're going with just AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and then we'll throw in Black Machismo and Consequences Creed maybe in the front line. It makes no sense. Joe's got a totally different character, and he looks fatter now because he's not in an athletic uniform, so he's got these big fat pants. It's terrible. Anyways, the thing is I just don't understand why we were pushing all these veterans in the main event. It makes no sense.
I would just focus on what makes TNA different, and that's the X division. I would focus on getting rid of the guys that people are familiar with, that are familiar with Sting, but keep some of the guys that can still go. Like, I think Sting can still go on a, selected basis with the right guys, Scott Steiner, I cut him. I don't think he's worth the time. I don't think he's worth the marketing. I don't think he's going to show anything, I just think that TNA needs to focus on being young and innovative and an alternative to what you see on the other program, and they are not that anymore. They once were, and that's the reason they got their deal on Fox Sports. That's the reason they got their deal on Spike TV. That's the reason they got their 3-hour pay-per-view, and that's the reason they got their primetime slot, because they were innovative and different. And they can say all they want about their 1.3, but look how long it took them to get there. They didn't.
Well, guys, what I was told is the real reason why they got on Spike was because they got Sting as well. That was a big part of the pie.
And, and I agree. It definitely, it helps to get Sting and all, but they've had Sting for 3-4 years, since 2006? Has it really helped their ratings that much? Did Kurt Angle jump their ratings? Did Christian Cage jump their ratings? Not really. You know what I'm saying? Nothing has really happened. And then they put them all in one big group, and now it's like, oh, wow, the main event Mafia trying to recreate the NWO-type feel, and it's not there at all. It's terrible. And I know that Angle thinks this sucks. You know he thinks this sucks. This guy wants to go out there and wrestle with the best. He even says his best matches with Black Machismo and TNA. He wants to wrestle the X Division guys, and he's stuck wrestling these old has-beens like Jeff Jarrett and Mick Foley, who can barely go anymore, and you've got Sting, who can barely go anymore.
Well, and
I know that's
speaking of Sting and Mick Foley, if you've seen the spoilers, what happened down in Orlando for the TV tapings, one of the main events at Lockdown, Sting versus Mick Foley.
And the thing is I thought that was going to be like a heel thing, but we've got the Vince Russo booking where you don't know who's heel and who's face. Sting basically challenged Foley because he accidentally hit him in the head with a chair, yet Sting was so close to being a baby face, and now all of a sudden Sting's kind of the heel antagonizing Foley. It's just like, man, you need a heel, you need a babyface, you need a Floyd Mayweather, you need an Oscar De La Hoya, you need a Tito Ortiz, you need a Chuck Liddell. You need a heel, you need a face. You don't need a cross. I can't stand Vince Russo's booking.
Well, Bill and Doug, we appreciate your opinions every week, obviously. Bill and Doug at Uncut. We'll do it again next week, guys.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks a lot. Brings up good points as far as TNA. They had momentum. There was momentum there.
There's points there, Frank. But again, and we've discussed this before, the reason Kurt Angle wants to work with, say, Black Machismo, and that was his favorite match. Remember when Angle had all the belts and he started dropping them, like when he dropped it to Black Machismo or Jay Lethal at the time? The reason that Kurt Angle wants to work with those guys is because it's fun for him. But the money match is Kurt Angle's Sting. The money match was Angle Jarrett. Mm-hmm. The money match is going to be Angle Nash. The money match is name versus name. Right. That's where the money is. This is a business.
But
and
TNA has got to get the word out.
Money, yes.
No one knows about TNA. They don't market at all. Nothing.
Go back to the Nash interview from before Bound for Glory. What did Nash say to somebody that asked him a few questions in the airport, and this ended up getting spread all over? Somebody said, "Where have you been?" Well, I just wrestled last night on TNA. Oh, I didn't know you were still on TV.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
And the whole thing with Suicide, the reason there's a Suicide character, it's because of their video game. Right. That's what it was. Is that Midway put a lot of money behind that, and they wanted a character to help promote the game. Unfortunately, Frankie Kazarian got hurt, couldn't be Kaz.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now it's somebody else.
Well, it's supposed to be Christopher Daniels.
Curryman.
It could be anybody.
Curryman was far more over than Suicide, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Yep.
Curryman was way over.
Yep.
Hot and spicy.
He was hot in saying it.
Before the break, let's take a call in Mississippi and talk to Ziggy. Ziggy, you're on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
what's up, Ziggy? Brand new to the show?
Yeah.
All right, what you got?
I heard that Kip James and Jacqueline TNA careers in jeopardy. So I want to know, y'all think they should stay in TNA or go?
You know, I think Cute Kip is a good fit in TNA. I mean, I don't think that he's going to go back up north to New York. As far as Jacqueline goes, I think if she's released, I think it's the end of the road for her.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the way the Divas are up in the WWE, she's not a fit there either. But, you know, Kip James, he's always on the hot seat. He rubs everyone the wrong way in TNA. And, we'll have to find out this weekend and see what's going on with Cute Kip.
Yeah, we're going to see him up here in Waukesha, actually in the Milwaukee area. I don't know if you've heard Holland Nash versus
BG and Kip, formerly known as the New Age Outlaws.
I don't want to get a cease and desist on Meathead now. So did you see my brain start to work there, Dave?
Yes.
Hey, I kept it clear still.
Yes.
All right, Ziggy, got anything else?
No, that's about it.
All right, Ziggy, thanks a lot for the phone call. Appreciate it.
That was mentally straining on me, Dave.
And for more information, go to blizzardbrawl.com.
There you go.
It's going to be a great show.
I heard that this might be the debut of the three-man announce team because if I'm not allowed to call this match, I'm going to be hot.
And you're saying it right now, aren't you?
I'm saying it right now, Nelson. I know you're listening to this. I better be calling this match.
It's going to be great.
Talk to your agent.
First time ever.
Yeah.
You know?
If there was TiVo available, you would TiVo it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Think about it. This match would have been a pay-per-view 10 years ago.
You know what's great, too? You know what's great, too, is that actually we'll be selling the DVDs afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, there'll be ways to see this match for those of you not in the Milwaukee area. So, again, Frank will may be, on the commentary talking about envelopes in the mailbox and whatever else stuff Frank does.
And just so you know, that comment about envelopes in the mailbox, if you go on to YouTube and you type in Blizzard Brawl main event, it's in there where Frank does commentary, where it's Al Snow in a tag match against Jerry Lawler. Quite the entertaining commentary.
Well, it was Al Snow and partner Sparky.
Right.
Versus, I know you were doing that, but versus
Jerry Lawler and the Gun Show.
And the Gun Show. Noodle Arms, Lance Allen from CMJ4. So,
anyway,
Noodle.
We will come back and talk about this evening's Raw, which
you loved. You loved the match
Frank
that
loved
was just announced.
It's terrible.
He loves legends, everybody.
We'll talk about that and much, much more in your phone calls. We're broadcasting live from the Time Warner Cable Studios in downtown Milwaukee. You're listening to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
This is the Miller High Life Delivery Guy, and you listen to Good Honest Sports Talk on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. It's a special St. Patrick's Day Eve song.
Fail.
Right?
Fail. Man, it breathes fire.
Are you Irish, Reagan?
No, he's not Irish. He looks like he's Transylvanian.
Are you Dutch Irish?
We know it's
hot
Roddy
rod,
Piper.
baby.
Hey, if you're hot, man, just say you're hot.
414-276-3776, 800-990. 3776 are the phone numbers if you want to chime in here in the Pro Wrestling Report, 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Let's go to the phones. He held through the break. We've got Anthony in Helmar. Anthony, you're on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey there, guys.
Anthony, how are you?
What's up, Anthony?
Fine.
What's on your mind, man?
I want to say that Raw was a decent show, not the best, of course, since it's Mania.
Yeah.
They couldn't. And it felt like the whole thing with Jericho is someone like, okay, it's these four only. I mean, they could have brought more legends like Honky Tonk Man, Greg Valentine, or some other guys.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like now they're going to have it 3-on-1.
Yeah, it looks like that's the direction it's going. How they've got 2 weeks to sell it that way, but
well, it has to be 3-on-1 because those other three guys in the ring can't work a full
move.
match.
They can't.
Well, that and they got already worked over by Jericho.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a shame because they could have made that special. You know, I mean, if Hogan didn't have his back surgery, if they could have came to terms on money.
Well, and, we're going to talk about this a little later, but we have seen Hogan on crutches, actually, during the performance of his daughter on the strip pole. her Hulkster was showing.
Anything else on Raw that you said it was average? Was there something that you were hoping to see?
Not really. I mean, I kind of hoped at the end with Cena, Edge, and Big Show would have been something more. Like Edge accidentally speared Vicky, and Big Show came in and just punched him out.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite the spear on Big Show, by the way. Wow. Flattened him.
Yeah.
And I kind of noticed when they showed the Divas for the Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal, right at like top, they had a picture of Gail Kim already.
Yeah.
Oh, it's about time Gail gets back in the ring.
Well, I mean, her promos have been airing, so has she made her way on to SmackDown yet?
Not yet, no. I think her debut will be at WrestleMania.
Okay, so have they announced it? That's what I don't understand. If Gail Kim is supposed to get this big rub, this big, return, push, they're just going to throw a picture up there and people are going, who's that?
Yeah. Well,
who's that?
But Sonny's going to be there.
Yeah, but all they showed was current talent. They didn't show any of the classics.
Speaking of past Divas, here's one they could probably put in, Jazz.
Oh, I heard she was pregnant.
Or Rodney Max?
Yeah.
Sable and Dawn Marie, I know, are pregnant, so.
Well, Sable, if you ask Sonny, that's another show altogether.
But considering Dawn Marie had a lawsuit against the WWE, I highly doubt she'll be back.
And she was pregnant with Al Wilson's baby.
Yeah.
Oh, God, don't mention that. That's almost worse than the Mae Young hand.
Hey, now if I had divas, and thank you for the call, by the way. If I had divas that I'd want from past that I'd want to go in there, give me Molly Holly, me likey.
Just want to do it.
Okay, I like her. I like her. Give me Ivory.
Lita.
I want to watch her again.
See Ivory doing that.
Lita, I don't know. I've seen what she's looked like lately. No, thank you. Give me who else was there? Give me what was Macho's girl that did the video? Let her get in the mix.
George?
Yeah, let her get in the mix too.
Yeah.
I've seen her video.
I'm sure you have.
Let's continue on the phones in Waukesha and speak to Gianni. Gianni, you're on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Awesome, cool. I just wanted to call in about Raw. I thought the beginning of Raw was pretty good. I didn't expect the show to start out with Taker and Michaels. I thought that'd be the finish.
Yeah.
That would be my opinion, but
they wanted to suck you in early.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they suck you in early. But then what's the point to watch it anymore?
Santino's eyebrow.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm a younger guy. I'm 22, but I've watched. I came in the mid '90s. When it was all just about to start going huge. With the DX and the NWO. But now that
we didn't say that, by the way. You said DX and NWO, just making it clear.
Yeah, I did. But that was back. I was, turning 13, 14. Then I just started going nuts with that, and now with everybody gone, but they're only stuck on the two same people. And it's always either Taker on SmackDown and then Michaels and Cena on Raw, and it's always the same finish. It's always Cena in the end.
Right.
And I know why they're doing it. They're trying to. We're all getting older. But I was one of those guys that always, you got to watch it, and I know so much about it. I'm becoming a wrestler, but now it's kind of like I'm just seeing how it kind of is, and I don't know if I really want to do it.
Well, let me ask you this question, too, on a different note. You said you're from Waukesha?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be at the Expo Center this Saturday, right?
Yes, I will. I got second row seat.
Excellent.
Second row, my man.
There you go.
I couldn't afford front row, but I did get front row for the Blizzard Brawl.
Okay,
All
nice.
right.
Which was a pretty good show.
Good.
All right, Gianni, thanks a lot for the phone call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a good night.
You too.
Raw was, it in my opinion, was crap.
Oh, Frank, hey, sometimes you just need to tell us how you feel.
It was crap, man. I was thoroughly
crap.
There you go.
Tell him, Krusty.
Here I am. I'm waiting for
maybe had to show up.
Yeah. Hey, when we got on the air, was Meathead on the air?
He was on the air.
If we would have been on the air at 10 o'clock, would Meathead have been on the air? Yes, Meathead would have been on the air.
All right.
I was, maybe because I had high expectations on what this evening could have been for Raw. But
that's not the way to watch Raw, Frank.
You know it is, though, Frank. You were sucked into the whole Chris Jericho deal.
I was waiting for.
You were waiting for a payoff.
And
you were waiting for an Austin.
I was saying, okay, it's gonna be. No,
You were waiting for an Austin payoff. You were waiting for a Hogan payoff.
Oh, who wasn't, though?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Ricky Steamboat, amazing, tremendous wrestler.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do the kids today know who he is?
Who?
No. Not at all.
Who?
They know Piper just because he's been on and off, for the past couple of years. And Jimmy Snuka, they're thinking,
well, it's this old guy that keeps getting beat up over and over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I still have a feeling that something's going to happen between now and WrestleMania.
I just had my epiphany. It's not going to happen. You know why? The Legends of the WrestleMania video game's coming out.
Yeah.
They're building that match for that video game.
Yeah. And Suicide will be in it, too.
Suicide.
Oh, by the way, anybody played the demo?
What kind of character is that for a family? For any wrestling show?
And he puts a gun to his head.
Yeah, that's just not right.
Hey, anybody play the demo? I don't know if you guys are gamers.
No, I haven't played it.
I played the PS3 version of Legends of WrestleMania.
Did you like it?
I think it's the what did Gagne say again?
Drizzlins?
The Drizzlins. It's the Drizzlins.
Really?
The gameplay is
no.
So far. I mean, I'll rent it when it comes out.
That's the demo.
That's the demo. I got to be Andre the Giant with Bobby as my manager. Going up against.
That's why.
Yeah.
Because the guy has no moves. You got to be like Mr. Perfect.
Yeah. No. You don't get the choice.
Oh,
you're
really?
either in the Hogan Giant match, WrestleMania 3, or you're in the Rock Austin match from WrestleMania 15.
Now, I don't play video games a lot. And obviously you do. But if you pick the character of Andre the Giant.
Yes, sir. Can he do like a Hurricane Rana?
Yes. Can that happen?
No. I'd hope not.
No. But you can create.
That would take the fun out of me for doing that because I
want a realistic game, Frank.
Are you the guy that if you wrestle against somebody on the game, you'll do the same move over and over?
Oh no, I know that.
Here's the stunner.
Yeah.
Here's the stunner.
I hate those guys.
No. Because one, you can't do the stunner like that unless you have two special saves. No. They don't build a game like that.
All right. Well, they used to.
I'm a guy that can go ahead and do every move. The up, the down, the left, the right.
The video
no, this was an ass kicking is what it was.
Thank you, Dragon.
Now, what system is this that you're playing on?
I play on PlayStation 3.
Okay, so for the Wii, what do? You pick up your opponent physically?
I guess there's moves you can do. Yeah.
I like the Wii.
I like put the guy in a headlock and all that?
Sure.
No, you don't actually grab the other guy. You do physical moves with your arms, Frank.
Well, you're getting hot again.
Well, I should turn the air on.
Yeah, turn the air on, drink some of that cold soda that's been sitting there for the whole hour,
Well, I don't want to, do that in front of the microphone. Frank,
I'm dead sexy.
Take over the show again, please.
I'm getting there. Shawn Michaels Undertaker. The build-up is getting there. It ends up where Shawn Michaels super kicks the Undertaker towards actually it was at the very, very end.
Right during his little gimmick where, he turns his back, and I thought that was nice. I thought that was a good spot for that kick.
It was
actually.
A great spot. I feel bad for anyone that follows that match. It's going to be good. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the best match on the show. Old school theory. They're going to tell a story.
Yeah.
I mean, think about a couple years ago when they were the last two guys in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
How good that was.
That was the Texas Rumble, right?
I believe
like the San Antonio Rumble?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know it's early for predictions. There's just no way that Taker's going to lose.
No. Taker's going to go 20-0, and then he's going to retire.
You think this could be his last?
No.
Oh,
20-0. He's going to have at least 3 more. Oh, yeah.
Still not working a full schedule, but he'll be available during WrestleMania time.
Yes.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what? He still sells. He still sells tickets.
The Rock did it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
He'd come back at WrestleMania. He'd be gone for the whole year, come back a month or 2 out.
Again, I hate to hammer this point home, but it's about business. And Rock sells tickets. Taker sells tickets. Actually, Shawn Michaels at the top of a WrestleMania card could sell some tickets, too, if it was done right.
What does this mean for the wrestling god, as Damien would put it?
Please don't scream.
Yeah, who? What's this guy?
What does it mean?
Justin Bradshaw Layfield.
For him, he gets super kicked, basically, himself, after kind of a tag thing. From,
nothing
Michaels.
better than bearing your new Intercontinental Champion,
well,
right?
That's what my thought was.
Which the belt, again, apparently not defended at WrestleMania.
Oh, it will be.
Well,
again,
but now what they've done is...
Oh, it'll be Vladimir.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. That's the only person that would make sense at this point now.
Well, what would make sense is for Honky Tonk to do it. I mean, if they want to keep throwing all these old guys out there. Not saying Honky's old.
Just saying
all these legends.
He's a legend of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He's just older.
You know.
When we come back, we'll talk about the ending of Raw and what that means, and again, we'll also talk about everything else. It was
Two words, too sweet.
We'll also talk about that coming up this Saturday. Broadcasting live from the Time Warner Cable Studios in downtown Milwaukee. Listen to Fantasy. You're listening to the Pro Wrestling Report.
Fantasy.
Well, you know what? Pro wrestling is a fantasy for a lot of people.
Fantasy.
Right.
Especially that Diva Battle Royal movie.
You're listening to the Pro Wrestling Report at 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Wake up with Mike and Mike. Mornings starting at 5 on 540 ESPN. For the latest interviews, blogs, contests, and more, log on today to the all-new ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Final segment of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Got a couple minutes left in this evening's program. Great Lakes Championship Wrestling coming up
Saturday night, March 21st at the Waukesha County Expo Center, 1000 Northview Road. BlizzardBrawl.com for more information. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash taking on BG and Kip James, formerly known as Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, in the main event. We got Bobcat coming in a ladies' match. And, of course, the GLCW title match is Al Snow against the wrestler formerly known as
Armando Alejandro Estrada.
Yes.
Well, Jesus. Am I speaking Chinese?
Let's get to a phone call before we end the program and speak to Georgie in Boston. Georgie on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing great, Georgie. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to discuss a lot of good and bad. I'm going to focus on the good, and I have an opinion on maybe who should win Money in the Bank. So let me know what you guys thought.
Okay.
Despite Christian's lack of faith from Vince McMahon, do you guys think it's time to give it to the one and only Mr. Primetime, Mr. Balling, Mr. MVP? I think he's in the middle of a face push. I think it would be nice to advance his career. I think he's someone who has the mic skills that they require, the charisma. Mm-hmm. You know, he doesn't necessarily have to win a championship once he wins the Money in the Bank, but he can be someone you can build up properly. You know, get him in a couple of feuds, guys challenge him for the suitcase, and then ultimately, if he doesn't win the title, at least maybe he can be on that next level to advance in his career. Do you guys think MVP is a good choice?
Yeah, I think it's a very good choice. And
very
again,
talented.
What's that?
He's very talented.
And I don't buy into the whole thing where, you know, Vince McMahon really doesn't like Christian. If Vince McMahon didn't like Christian, why did he bring him in?
Have you seen Christian has been jobbing out since he's been back?
But that doesn't mean he doesn't like him. He's paying dues.
Because he knows
he's paying dues.
No, he's being punished. He's not paying his dues.
I don't
he's
buy that.
already paid his dues.
You need to repay his dues again because he left.
All right, you watch.
Georgie, thank you for the phone call. I like the choice of MVP.
If they want someone to win the Money in the Bank and not be world champion, that's your choice.
Yeah.
But Christian will win Money in the Bank this year. Right. He has to. Set up the Christian Edge feud.
Which is money.
Speaking of, that's what ended Raw this evening with Cena getting basically beat up. And then Big Show comes out, Edge with the spear. They ended it that way. It's a three-way dance. I don't know what they're branding it as, but you like that?
They should have ended it with Shawn Michaels super kicking Undertaker.
Right.
That would have been the way to end the show. But who am I to say? I mean, that's why they got all the expert bookers.
You're the booker man. Booker man.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I'm looking forward to WrestleMania, parts of it. I want to see Sonny win the Diva Battle Royal because, of course, Sonny will be at the Expo Center on Saturday as well.
Right. That's right.
Median, please, don't let her pull out that restraining order again.
Again.
It was rather embarrassing last year. You couldn't be within 50 yards of her.
Yeah, I know. But it was kind of hard to hold the camera and zoom in.
We will do this again.
I love her. I do.
We will do this again next week.
Is Damian back next week?
Hopefully, he better be next week.
He'll be back this weekend. He's going to be at the show this weekend.
Okay. Well,
with all the mistakes I've made tonight, he better be back in the
You got to love the fantasy wrestling show.
That's right.
Fantasy.
But we'll, again, talk about the road to WrestleMania Next week, we'll take your phone calls, TNA news, the momentum.
And Booker T next week, right?
I believe that's what we were going to
schedule to join us.
Booker T next week, scheduled to join. I believe it'll be Dave Hero and myself doing the interview with Book. So,
all right. For the man they call Meathead, Dave Hero, thanks again for taking the time this evening. Dragging Behind the Glass, producing the program. I'm Frank Cosentino. We'll do this again next week. You've listened to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
The clock is